$14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory8 powered by VIS. I'm your host, Dragonborn, and joining me today, it's the Nominee, as we look to bring you guys the off-stream matches here for the Vainglory8 as we get into split number 2, our first week in split number 2. It's very exciting. Of course, this is the long split, the 4 weeks of competitive play here at Vainglory8, and this will be make or break for all of these teams if they want to make it to the World Championship. And for Europe, this is a big deal, Denominate, as we look to get ready for this match. There are no qualified European teams yet, so every point matters. Although, the possibility of a wild card does exist, the chances are very slim. And of course, it all comes down to if these players, if these teams can kind of come together, try to get that first seed here in Europe to get that qualification, because that is really the only guaranteed way to get that qualification here in the EU. Denominate, definitely an exciting matchup to get ready for here as we get SK versus Dynasty. A lot of implications between these two teams.
Yeah, and SK is one of those teams that has looked absolutely amazing, and they've continued to be up at the top. Obviously, we have the new, the quote new, we're obviously in split 2, so we've seen Hegman quite a few times, formerly Red Ambition, come through and really make a name for himself here on this lineup.
They have, and when we're talking about points and how critical this is, Denominate, these are the first and third seeded teams right now, and for SK, they're pretty comfortable there at the top place, 24 points. They are about twice as many points over almost every other team, G2 just with 13, just the closest competitor. But Dynasty, they've got a huge ladder to climb, and they got to start climbing it right away, and of course it starts with this matchup tonight. A lot. I mean, if Dynasty can beat SK and get enough points, they can start to build that run to possibly contest SK for that first seed.
Yeah, they definitely could be looking to do so. Obviously, Dynasty is one of those teams who's not at all shy of the Vainglory competitive scene, specifically for Europe. They're a team, formerly Team Secret, that has come through and really had great performances when they bring their A game. But we don't always see them coming through at their strongest, and that's kind of the big thing here.
Yeah, that's definitely something we see with some of these European teams. There are, from week to week, sometimes, granted, one bad series could do that to you. It's really not an implication of your overall series as it is. But yeah, that could be a huge impact as well. So I'm pretty excited to get into this game, Denominate. I know you are as well. Again, we're talking about the European region here in Vainglory8, brought to you by VIS League. And this is, this is very critical for Dynasty, probably more so than any other team, because G2 and Dynasty are really the only two teams right now that look like they have a legitimate shot at getting that first place from SK. So a lot is on the line for them. We're going to take a quick break, everybody, but when we come back, we're going to be getting right into the draft for game number 1.
$14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here live at the VIS League desk, bringing you guys the Vainglory off-stream match, and we are ready to get into game number 1 of the draft. Dynasty, of course, my co-host and co-caster joining me tonight. But let's get right into it as we look to start
the draft
game
begins.
number 1. SK, of course, here on. Is that SK on A side? No, that looks like Dynasty on A side. Wait. Let me double check here. Let me make sure I got this right. Nope, that's SK on B side there. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me get that switched around. There we go. Dynasty, of course, here on A side. So that's better. All right, so we're getting into the draft Dynasty. Of course, Reza now. This draft, a big change after 2.9 as well as that hotfix.
Yeah, and we haven't seen too much Reza in competitive, but, you know, obviously this is going to be Dynasty looking to take it off the board. We've obviously had some changes in the meta coming through onto this, I believe, 2.9.1 update. So, you know,
Correct.
We've only seen a couple teams be able to pull it off, but maybe this is Dynasty saying, okay, we know Reza in this patch can be a huge threat to deal with, and we need to consider that going forward. But it's going to be a Blackfeather and a Catherine picked up, and then a Rhyme and a Cruel ban.
Well, yeah, Rhyme and Cruel. Yeah, just how tanky they are, and with the buff to defense already, you know, it's just a lot harder to bring these guys down. And so, you know, you take them off the board, you really eliminate the possibility of those long sustained fights. You know, with more health, with more defense, being able to tank you up, it can be really problematic. These fights seem to go a little bit longer. So, not too bad here. I'm just curious about the Reza. I'd like to find out what made that Reza ban. There's something happened in Europe that I may not be aware of that's really brought Reza into that meta.
Clearly, Tyra is just a god.
Yeah, that is possible. Arden's going to be that pickup here as a support. Cats and Arden, they've always seemed to have a pretty comfortable spot as like the top 5 roams in the update. No Churnwalker yet. Now, that's something, you know, a lot of potential with Churnwalker. We've heard a lot of people talk about there's a lot of OP-ness to him, but yeah, we really haven't seen in competitive play just yet.
His level 1, level 2 engage is incredibly threatening. Obviously, if you land those hooks, the cooldown comes through immediately. You can chain through the damage. You can help get damage onto that back line, even when it is the captain in the front. So some interesting new mechanics on this hero, and he can be incredibly difficult to deal with in the early game.
Have we seen like at least what you've seen so far, it used in a carry capacity? Because it is primarily designed for that roam captain position.
I haven't seen it run carry outside of Blitz, but, you know, that's not to say it can't be done. We'll just have to see. But, you know, this is SK has the Catherine and Baptiste combination that has been so deadly in the past. We've seen a couple teams be able to overcome it with picks like the Scarf and the Celeste. Anybody that's able to outrange Baptiste can put him in a dangerous position. Mm-hmm. And now I would expect to see Kavalifar pick up probably a melee weapon power laner is really his comfort. Possibly the Idris is still available. That's something we know him for. But we could also default into that Vox pick. if need be. Or we could see Kvalifar pull out one of those signature either Rona or Lance lane picks, which would be really interesting here.
Yeah, they could really go with anything here. Take a look over at Dynasty, though. Blackfeather, this could be a lane Blackfeather, could be a jungle Blackfeather. As we have seen Scarf, the Crystal Scarf here, the Mage, in the lane and the jungle. As the last two updates really allowed kind of like both of those. Right, really seen it either way. And Arden's just a really strong, with that, with the Echo, the item there, that really allows Arden to just be absolutely a massive playmaker into the late game. Those double gauntlets, such a very, very strong crowd control to deal with.
It definitely is, and we've seen a couple captains, even when necessary, use it on that double Vanguard. And with the health buffs in this patch, it does give Arden an even bigger barrier. So that is something to make note of here going forward. Arden obviously having a couple big buffs of his own, as well as the general health buff. It's going to be interesting to see. This is going to be our first real look at competitive Vainglory on this 2.9.1 update.
Right, some of the biggest changes we've seen in Vainglory. There's new items, massive change to how I think health as well as attack and defense scale into the game, as well as mid to late game. A lot of changes there, a lot of changes in balancing with different abilities and different heroes. So very excited, absolutely excited to see how these two teams in Europe kind of is that team or that region that usually comes up with their own meta, their own play style that's really unique and honestly pretty interesting, and I really like to enjoy to see them play sometimes. They've really actually been pioneers of a lot of compositions, including the soft Finn. Finn was like massive Europe-only support for the good first couple of months of his play in competitive before NA really picked up on him. So excited for that, of course. Looks like we're ready to get into this game, though, Dynamite. So let's jump right into the fold. Let me just get this sorted out real quickly here.
Yeah, as we get into this game, it is going to be Riku Meza on the Scarf here, going into that jungle. PT Lamb going to be down here, splitting the ambience in the back, so not a lot of changes on the rotation. We are seeing both teams do this at this point. It's very helpful in getting the gold onto your carries, as well as getting them both to level 2 just a little bit sooner, and you only really miss out usually on about one minion in the lane. Sometimes if the rotation is quick enough, you might not even miss that one. So those are definitely things to make note of here. Mowgli playing pretty defensively here, not wanting to give Hegman too much to start off with. He's already got one stack, which is going to help build up Catherine's tankiness. And with the additional health that she has, she's going to be scary in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how defense is so strong in this recent update, just with the way they've changed how defense and Pierce is calculated. If you're going with Pierce, it definitely benefits you to have extra defense early. And of course, Catherine, her heroic perk just naturally allows her to scale very well into the late game thanks to that. So Scarf, we do still see Broken Myth built just because, defense is still very strong as always, but, it's even scarier, when you have a Catherine on your team who just gets absolutely tanky as we get later and later into the game. You see a bit of an engagement here up in the lane. PT Lamb on this Blackfeather. Now, Blackfeather, he had to build a Book of Eulogies. He's a little bit close range and unable to farm without a little bit of harass. You just see Kvalifar on this Kestrel and as well as Catherine in the lane. They're able to apply the pressure to PT Lamb. So PT Lamb just has to stay very far back. Actually uses a minion candy here. Is going to have to use that just to try to keep this lane as close to center. In the jungle, though, we do have a skirmish. Scarf and Arden going at it. You see Mowgli trying to keep Rikameza alive, but Rikameza takes a huge burst damage from Tyra's. Tyra's on this Baptiste, already packing a punch with just 2 crystal bits. Looking to keep applying the pressure here as they rotate up to the top part of their jungle, of the enemy's jungle, really, as they look to finish counter jungling here. Looking for something. Rikameza, he's not that far in health, so he still has a good health. He had to pop his healing flask day. And Hegman, of course, very low. Doesn't have a healing flask up ready. It's on cooldown, so he's going to have to port.
Yeah, and, those healing flask changes. Oh, Tyra's might get a little bit caught out here. Will we see a rotation out of Dynasty, though? I'm not sure if Mowgli wins out on this trade.
Yeah, he stayed back there. Almost missed it. I mean, Mowgli is able to do a lot of damage. Arden that captain role, but he's going to get sandwiched. Rickameza rotates down. Scarf, does he get the Spitfire? Not yet, but now he's going to get between all three members of Dynasty. And this is going to be first blood as Tyrus is going to drop. He got a fair amount of farm, but he wasn't able to get that last treant there in the top part of Dynasty's jungle. So didn't get that buff, wasn't able to escape. And now his death is history. But going to be ancient history quickly as we get into this game here. Up at the lane, this is honestly where PT Lamb, he's trying to hold his own. He's down the jungle right now, but he's been able to keep a decent CS with Cavalifar. That's wow. Hegman has been up there as a support, which means PT Lamb probably is leading, and I'm just checking. Yeah, he's a little bit ahead in experience, it looks like. It's really hard to see here on the spectator client. But, he's just trying to do, kind of stay basically toe-to-toe with Cavalifar here. And after this next rotation, he should be in good shape.
Yeah, definitely going to be looking to do so. And one thing I do want to make note of is with the general health changes, that does actually provide an inherent buff into the healing flask itself, as it is 30% barrier and healing of your total health. So, now that everybody has that additional chunk of health in their pocket, that flask is so much more useful here in the early and mid game. And it's going to really be necessary for these teams to time them appropriately. We do see that Mowgli's is down for another 20 seconds. That'll be up in no time at all, probably before the next real fight breaks out. So everybody should have that, should be good to go. Tyra's is getting, about 900 gold shy of that Shatterglass, and that's where Baptiste can really start to take off and be a threat to Mowgli being in that front line. It's going to be interesting to see how that change to the health pool is going to allow Baptiste to be able to burst through these very tanky heroes, which is going to be Mowgli, and then as PT Lamb gets into the late game, he'll likely tank himself up as well.
Yeah, Hagman and Mowgli, they both got under 5-minute fountains, so moving very quickly. I think pretty even on the support side, so not a big difference there. Just vision game, though, definitely favoring SK right now. You can see they did a good job on their side of the jungle, making sure that they don't get ganked or any surprises. And right, we see right now is Dynasty and SK all rotating up to the top of the lane, looking to try to pressure this, as we do see a little bit of damage had been applied to Dynasty's turret. And with this push, SK is looking for potentially a chance to get in and do a little bit more poke damage here. Cavalifar, he's caught out a little bit. He is going to be 1v1'd as PT Lamb tries to go in, but Hagman and Tyrus come up very quickly, get the stun, able to lock PT Lamb up and stop that engagement. Mowgli takes a little bit of glimmer shot damage. He's able to get out just fine. Now SK going to reposition to try to get more damage onto this turret here. A little bit of poke back and forth as Dynasty just clearing out the wave minion to push up this wave minion. Oh, wow. Tyrus takes a huge chunk out of Rickameza there. As you see, those bad mojos already chunking into Dynasty, already starting to apply a lot of damage.
Yeah, and the bad mojos, the key thing about these is proper soul shard management with that Reap perk. Oh, one shot, one kill, not quite going to find PT Lamb. Like I said, the flask, so useful in this patch, Dragon. We see that popped there. Did save him from the one shot, one kill, and actually healed him back up to half. Here we go.
Oh, no. We might have PT Lamb. He drops low. Fountain's popped. He stays alive. It's Rickameza coming in with the Dragon Breath, but now he's got to disengage. He's taking so much damage on his own. Great job by SK repositioning. Both teams had to use their Fountain to stay in those fights. We saw a lot of damage coming out from both, but this forced recall by Dynasty is going to expose their turret. They give that up, and unfortunately nothing they could do to keep that alive. First objective going over to SK. Dynasty, they're going to have to be careful here. They're down by 1,000 gold, and you're starting to really see that show in itemization. Is Cavalifar, he chooses to go with that Sorrow Blade first, while PT Lamb goes with the Serpent's Mask. So more damage coming out from Cavalifar early. As this mid game is really going to be a strength for Kestrel into the Blackfeather before Blackfeather's going to have to get to that level 9 before he's able to really be a serious threat to Kestrel.
Yeah, he absolutely is going to have to. We do have a breaking point picked up on PT Lamb as well, but with that first turret down, that does net over 1,000 gold lead now for the side of SK, so they've got to be feeling pretty comfortable here. And we know what a threat that Baptiste and Catherine combo can be. That amount of crowd control that comes out is absolutely unreal. and you still have to worry about that active camo coming out of Kvalifar on top of that. So it is going to be very, very interesting positioning that's going to have to come out of Dynasty Gaming in order to get through here safely, as they have to worry about Scarf getting locked up.
Yeah, and that's the stuns from both Tyrus and Hegman. Those are the crowd control that Dynasty just needs to be very mindful of. It's sometimes hard, and sometimes instinctively you don't want to block out that initial merciless pursuit because there's so much that could follow it that you want to be mindful of. But if you get locked up and you're not in a good spot, they just collapse upon you. There's a lot of poke from SK, and that's something that you don't want to have to take unneededly if you don't need to. And of course, that's where a good reflex block early can be a big factor here. SK, they're continuing to apply pressure. The lane, they're going to push that lane forward. Dynasty now just forced to play on their heels, and they can't really move through the jungle freely either, as you see SK's got that locked up. And with that, SK's going to rotate down and start the gold mine.
Yeah, SK taking it very quickly. Kvalifar still has 3 glimmer shots in his pocket, but here comes Dynasty, and now this is Dynasty's chance.
Oh, but fearsome shade blocks out the gauntlet. And nice silence coming in as well. Dynasty taking a ton of damage. Mowgli, he's low, and so is PT Lamb. PT Lamb has to use his flask. Gets out of there. Fountain's already popped for the side of Dynasty. Fountain still in the bag for SK as they look to keep pushing in here. And now they can just turn their attention onto this Crystal Sentry. But they got to watch out. Here comes Rikumeza. Dragon Breath's full force. Blows in, but they're able to disengage perfectly. Reposition around the Crystal Sentry. Now they pop their Fountain. Now SK unfortunately doesn't get the Crystal Sentry and doesn't get much for that fight. That is a real shame for SK. They almost were able to get an objective from that, and not even able to get a kill, as that Dragon Breath did enough damage to force them to retreat far enough away where they really couldn't position properly around the Crystal Sentry.
Yeah, they absolutely couldn't, and that is a win for the side of Dynasty Gaming. A beautiful Spitfire coming out of Rikumeza. Some really good timing was able to secure them, and that actually brings them back even in gold despite the first turret being down. Now, SK still in probably the more comfortable position because that, obviously, the gold mine will respawn for the next, 5 minutes. The first turret won't do the same.
Exactly. So, a big gold swing, though, in favor of SK as they continue to apply pressure and really focusing on that objective game when they don't need the kills. They just trying to go and get the gold items like the gold miner and the Crystal Sentry and the turret. But Dynasty, they just need to play defensively. That Scarf late game still going to be a nightmare for SK. And how they're going to deal with it. So they just have to play cautious if you're Dynasty. This SK looking to push up here into the second lane turret. There comes an Ordain. They try to lock up PT Lamb. PT Lamb's going to back away after taking a bit of chunk damage. Spitfire coming out defensively. There's a stun. Hegman goes in. They're going to go underneath the turret. Silence. Well done, but not able to find anything. One shot, one kill. Blocked out by PT Lamb. Reflex block just to stay alive, but barely, as he's going to have to recall. But that's going to allow SK to keep applying pressure. Double silence comes out after you use the echo. They go in. Fine. Rikameza's Scarf is down, and so is this turret. As Dynasty now looking to reel from that loss. There's just 2v3, and there's nothing they could do. They got to have to back out because SK still really strong here. They have a lot of health. They're not afraid at all. And now they're going to turn their attention on this Crystal Sentry, looking to finally get this Crystal Sentry kill. And
yeah, it's a little unfortunate for SK. They didn't get it the first time around. It was so low. I mean, even another bad Mojo or a Glimmer shot from Kvalifar should have taken it down. But they end up taking down its first life here, 11 minutes. So that is one step closer to having that objective defeated. Obviously, if they're able to take that down, it'll give them more free reign over what they're able to do in the jungle. And obviously, it won't be anything that the side of Dynasty Gaming can run back to for protection once they take down that third life. So that is a huge objective if you plan on fighting in the jungle. And I feel like they have a composition that easily should be able to. They can really pick a fight anywhere they want, whenever they want, and should be able to set something up pretty nicely.
So far, they've definitely got control. And you look at the scoreboard, it's only 1v1 as far as kills are concerned. 1 kill apiece. And that just goes to tell you how strong SK has been at focusing on lane pressure and objectives and not going for jungle kills or assassinations per se. really just being able to push back Dynasty until they can no longer defend whatever they're trying to hold. And that allows SK to apply a continuous pressure and take this sizable gold lead, about 3,000. Right now, though, they're coming down. SK looking to take this gold miner here. Is Dynasty thinking about contesting? They've got vision on it with a few flares that are being popped out by Mowgli. And here comes Rikomeza. This is going to be close. Gauntlet comes in, no stun, but the gold mine's still being contested. It's going to go over to SK, but now you've got a 3v3 fight. Dynasty looking to try to apply pressure here. Here comes the Dragon Breath. And we can see a double silence thanks to Echo going in, but they're silenced up. They're still able to get damage down, and Dynasty is going after Tyrez. He's really low. PT Lamb gets the kill. And boy, you just gotta be afraid of PT Lamb on this Black Feather as late game approaches. And this is absolutely humongous. They lose the gold mine, but they get the kill. And now they're going to be able to push up this lane and possibly get their first turret of the game.
Yeah, definitely going to look to get that pressure down. And with the Scarf, they should be able to apply it pretty easily. That turret is dropping quickly. And here we go. Now it's Dynasty Gaming turning their attention on the Cavalifar.
Ooh, active camo lands. Cavalifar gets the kill on the PT Lamb. Mowgli's going to drop low, but he's going to have to back away. Rikomeza gets the turret. They do give up one kill. Not a bad trade to dominate. SK, of course, has really been dominating for most of this early game. So for Dynasty to give up a trade for a turret seems like a pretty fair and actually kind of a net worth gain for Dynasty.
It does feel that way, despite the gold being pretty heavily in favor of SK. And SK might even be looking for more here. Here comes Rikomeza and Mowgli, though.
Oh, but they got caught out. Crystal Sentry gets the shot on thanks to some vision placed by Dynasty. So nicely placed. And now they're going to port back here. SK still leading, like you said, in gold as well as objectives. But now that their first turret is down, it's a little less one-sided. And it's going to free up the map just a little bit. We'll see how well Rikomeza can push the lane for it, because that's going to be the start of them getting that jungle pressure again, is if they could just keep the lane pushed past the midpoint. So we look to go up. Kraken has come on the board. So Dynasty now needs to be mindful of both the Kraken objective as well as their lane pressure. They're just going to keep an eye here in the jungle. We see SK going to rotate down to the shop. They put some vision down so they know where Dynasty is, and looking to potentially pressure them out of that tri-bush so they can look to get a foothold here, maybe start to crack it up. They definitely have the damage to do so. You're already seeing 3 items on Kestrel at the 15-minute mark, so she's right on schedule. Only 2 items on Scarf and 2 tier 3 items for offensive on PT Lamb. So amazing what Dynasty has been able to do, Denominate, with just a few items that they've had.
Well, Scarf, he packs a huge punch. And, going that Shatterglass first, definitely helping their cause. Obviously, now 16 minutes into this game, it's absolutely devastating to lose a fight at this point. Even losing out on just one can really set you up for disaster with this Kraken now on the board, especially looking at specifically the Scarf and the Kestrel.
Oh.
Both of them. Oh, hold on here. Rikomeza.
Yeah, he got locked up, blown up here. He was trying to port back, but the Merciless Pursuit found him. And this is what we've talked about, guys. You need to be mindful of that cat. They're coming down right at the nick of time. And, of course, Rikomeza, once he got caught out, he had to try to find a way to get out of there, and he couldn't. There's just too much damage from SK, and he is just way too squishy. This is going to be another Crystal Sentry going over to SK with 1 life remaining to nominate. And looking dire and dire here with Scarf down. SK could start up this Kraken. There's not nearly as much damage coming out. PT Lamb doesn't have a lot of upfront damage. In fact, initially in the fight, he's really not going to do a lot until those breaking point stacks rack up. So SK not necessarily that worried. Instead, they're just going to go farm out their jungle, push the wave back up, and then look to possibly contest this Kraken here again. But it's going to be all 3 members of Dynasty on the board as they are hanging out in the tri-bush right next to it. But here comes Gauntlet. Dragon Breath. This is well timed, but silence comes out. They block out the silence. Double Gauntlet. Nice crowd control. This is what we talked about. Arden, he can do so well, and they get the first kill. And Dynasty, they are trying to turn it around. They're going to fight Hegman here as he's just unable to get away, and that's going to be a Kraken for Dynasty as they look to start that up. Cavalifar, he had to get away. Wasn't able to make really anything happen. That was absolutely beautifully executed by Dynasty right there. double gauntlet is just so scary to deal with. And he blocked that silence, which allowed him to continue applying pressure and get that gauntlet off again. Really good job by Mowgli. Mowgli, this guy, he has just been an absolute star.
Mowgli has really always been a star. I mean, he's literally been one of the greatest players in the European scene for the longest time, and coming through, finding a beautiful fight there, as you mentioned, getting that gauntlet down, stunning up Tyras, keeping him in a dangerous position. Rikumeza, PT Lamb were able to follow up with heavy amounts of damage onto that very squishy front line that Tyras was creating. And that is not a good spot for SK to be in, as now they are fighting on the back foot as this Kraken is pushing into this turret.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to find this turret. You're probably going to give up a Kraken for this before you get that third turret. So it is going to be a net gold gain over for SK. But they're looking to keep pushing in. And now they're going to have to back away. The silence comes out, but they do not block it. This time, Crucible was a little bit earlier. Mowgli finds the first gauntlet. They're looking to go in. They catch out Tyrez. Tyrez is going low, but they find the kill onto Rikumeza. Now they're turning their attention on the PT Lab. He's not going to get away. And Kraken, they give up the potential early Kraken takedown in order to get those 2 kills. Let's see if they can get Kraken before they lose their third turret.
Yeah, definitely looking to do so. They will get it down just in time, but that turret is in very, very hurt condition. Mowgli, the only one to escape from Dynasty, still a gold lead in the favor of SK, but Dynasty really showing some solid signs of life here, trying to burn the candle at both ends for SK, trying to force everything out early.
And they're doing a fantastic job at baiting in Dynasty when they are at their weakest and when SK is at their strength. We are finally seeing that third item on Rikumeza. Finally, it took him a while to get there, but this is going to be scary Scarf if he can stay alive. And that's really for Mowgli to keep his Scarf alive. We didn't see a double gauntlet that last team fight. And I didn't check to see if it was still on cooldown from the last fight, if the Echo wasn't quite up and ready to go. But that made a huge difference because Rikumeza was just unable to position in that gauntlet, that first gauntlet, without avoiding the damage coming out from the Baptiste. So unfortunately, that was a huge factor in them losing that fight with Kraken pushing. But you're even in objectives, and you're going to be hopefully able to keep applying some pressure on their side. The big challenge here for Dynasty Denominate is just that they're so far behind with no Crystal Sentry now. They're just really going to have a hard time finding a fight where they could just win without a surprise.
Yeah, definitely looking to be that way, as both of these teams have been really back and forth with these fights. It's really come down to Mowgli getting those good gauntlets down, and here we go.
One, but he's going to miss. All they catch is Hangman. Double gauntlet comes in. Double stun. And they got 3 stuns here onto SK. But look at the damage coming out. It does not matter, as they're going to find the kill to PT Lamb early. SK is going to keep pushing in. Hangman's low, but all 3 members of SK are up looking for the fight. They're going to be able to rotate down and they're going to start the Kraken. They are going to start the Kraken, as we do see Rikumeza and Mowgli unable to contest. They have headed back to their shop. They didn't even port, as they were just too afraid of getting caught out. Not wanting to give up to Ace here. And look how fast. Wow, we talk about changes to Kraken, talk about changes to the meta. And that Kraken, the health has been reduced when it's neutral. And you can see how quickly a team can capture a Kraken, as SK just did. And now they're going to be able to push up here and then look for their first Kraken push of the game.
Yeah, they're definitely looking for it, and with only 2 turrets standing between SK and a victory, this could potentially be the end of the game. Either way, obviously, if Dynasty is able to find a game here, they could a couple kills here, they could essentially base race this Kraken down. As Scarf takes turrets so incredibly quickly, they shouldn't have any problem doing so, but they have to find a fight, and they have to find it quickly. Because if Kavalifar and Tyras get any damage down onto these turrets, they're going to blow up quickly. Here we go. Gauntlet is down.
Gauntlet down. Nice Crucible on that. Blast Tremors. They're looking to find it. No signs. Double Echo coming out. Double Blast Tremor. They're not going to find it. We did see the Echo come out for that Gauntlet. Instead, he's using the Echo for Vanguard. Really not a bad idea, trying to keep that Scarf alive. And they do find a kill. And now they're going to be able to take out the Kraken. So SK unable to finish the game here. as it will be this Kraken going down before the final turret. But it is SK up just a little bit here and continuing this gold lead. You see that already as they clear out this back farm from Dynasty. There's no Crystal Sentry to contest. There's no vision. They're able to real nicely move around the jungle here and keep that gold lead up. But Dynasty, they are still in this game to nominate, and they are still fighting as they take down that Kraken.
Yeah, and they are in a beautiful spot looking forward. Obviously, that turret so incredibly damaged sitting over there in the base of Dynasty Gaming. Kvalifar could get in there with this huge crit damage build that he has on this Kestrel and blow right through that turret, no problem. So Dynasty has to be very careful here moving forward. I do like that Mowgli and PT Lamb have both picked up that metal jacket. We talked about the changes to health and defense earlier. So being able to survive on that front line, not getting forced out by Kvalifar, is really what Dynasty has to do here, and let Scarf ramp up his damage here.
Here comes the first gauntlet. Second gauntlet comes in. Nice crowd control, blocking up Chambers. He silence. There's the silence coming out. Will he use the double silence here as they unfortunately have gone down? There is Kvalifar down. Dynasty, they've gotten 2 kills. Holy cow, to dominate Dynasty. Looking to push the game back into their favor. This has been just absolutely back and forth between these two teams. And now it's Dynasty. Do they have enough in the tank? Could they end this?
They could be looking to do so. Like we talked about it earlier, the Scarf is absolutely so good at pushing objectives. But look at Hegman up here doing a great job juggling the lane minions up here, looking to keep the barriers alive on these turrets as long as possible. Only 1 turret left, but Kvalifar and Tyros come up in a couple of seconds. Can Dynasty do this, Dragon?
Oh, this is going to be close. They're going in. They've got a goop down right there at Spitfire as well. The Crystal's going to go down, and Dynasty beats SK in game number 1 in this hugely competitive matchup between these two teams. And to nominate, this is a big deal. We talked about it before the stream, before we got into this match. Dynasty needs this win if they want a shot at trying to get to Worlds.
Oh, they absolutely do. Both of these teams are in a pretty rough spot as far as whoever comes out on bottom here is losing out on a lot of points for the rest of the weekend. Obviously, you have an additional chance at 6 points going into the Sunday games if you do make it through today. So both of these teams making sure they're doing their absolute best to try to secure that spot and give themselves the best chance moving forward.
Yeah, they really are. So congratulations to Dynasty, game number 1, being able to secure that victory. It's the best of 3 series, and we'll be getting ready for game number 2 in just a few moments. A lot to talk about. We'll talk about it right after this quick break to nominate, right before we get into draft for the second game of the series.
$14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome back, everybody, as we get into split number 2 here in the autumn season. I am Dragonborn, your host, as we bring you guys the Vainglory8 powered by VIS. And we are looking to get into the second game of this best of 3 series between SK and Dynasty. In Dynasty, they have taken game number 1 against the powerhouse SK, who sits right now at number 1 with 24 points. They are over 10 points above every other team in Europe, and they are looking to try to continue that lead, but they might have run into a little bit of a speed bump here, Dynasty, as Dynasty getting the first game and looking to take this series.
Yeah, definitely looking to do so. It's going to be interesting to see how we get into draft number 2 here. We still haven't seen any Churn Walker,
We have not.
but that's not to say that that won't change here quickly.
Yeah.
Just have to see going forward if that is the case. Obviously, we had the Reza ban come out last game. It'll be interesting to see if that follows through in this second game as well. Obviously, it was Dynasty Gaming that banned that one away. So maybe something that SK has just been running, maybe something that's really come to light in this patch. It is going to be a Kroll taken off the table almost immediately.
Yeah, I mean, Reza's going to be banned again. This is Dynasty just not willing to give over Reza to SK. And someone mentioned, Tyrez, apparently he is very, very proficient in Reza play. And this clearly is a ban on that. But they are going to get Rhyme. And Rhyme, Denominate, this has definitely been one of the most contested heroes in 2.9.1. Specifically, he's been really strong all through 2.8, but in 2.9, just that tankiness he has makes it even harder for him to be brought down in this latest update. Going into a Kestrel here, Arden's going to be banned out from Dynasty. Definitely, they definitely don't want to have to go into an Arden. Those double gauntlets, Mowgli knows all too well how potent they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the Lyra is going to be taken off the table as well. So we still do have the Churnwalker available. We have, obviously, Grace still on the table, something that we know Mowgli can pull out and have a pretty good effect on. So, definitely something that we're going to have to consider here from both sides. Obviously, some changes to the health pool will help some of the sustainability in the fights, but the changes to defense may also make you take that increased damage if you're not prioritizing your defense properly. Grace is going to come through for the B side here with this Kestrel, and this is looking like a pretty decent matchup here into the Rhyme so far. Kestrel very good at blowing through Rhyme's health because of his low defense.
Right, and I really love Grace into these Cruel and Rhyme basically frontline brawlers because, they're really tanky, but they have to be in the front line. They have to be doing the damage, and Grace is holding Nova. Typically very hard to land, but great for landing into an engaged Rhyme or Cruel. And, of course, with, no Cruel and just Rhyme built, that Dynasty's play here is to just kind of bait out that Rhyme for most of this game. They are going to bring in the Blackfeather. Blackfeather a little bit slippery and likely going to be weapon power in the lane. Something we saw SK definitely prioritize as far as positioning. They're going to have to deal with, of course, here on A side now. And we'll see what they're going to pick up with their last draft pick day. I mean, now at this point, you're deciding what you want for support. Catherine, of course, I was going to say, was the only one left over that really made a lot of sense. There's a lot of potential crowd control that comes from that stud. And we saw, how effective it was when when SK played it, almost winning the game thanks to Catherine, but unfortunately falling just a little bit short.
Yeah, falling a little bit shy, not necessarily the best place they want to be in. I thought they had a really good composition, but just the capitalization from Dynasty on the slightest of misplays coming out of SK was absolutely huge for them. And, again, Dynasty is not the number 1 seed right now. That it is in SK's hands. So if Dynasty is able to put SK, out on day 1 of this first week of split number 2, that is going to prevent SK from getting the constant 8 points a week that they were getting all through split 1.
Yeah, Petal comes out here as the last pick. This is definitely to go into that Blackfeather to pressure him, as well as the Rhyme. I mean, there's a lot of damage Rhyme could do to kind of counter the Petal, but when Blackfeather goes in too deep, he's going to have to pay the price here. Likely going to be that Crystal Petal, and we'll see Frostburn early. That is definitely going to be difficult for Blackfeather to deal with, and I really like what I see coming out of Dynasty here. This is a really cool matchup. I think SK has a decent shot, but it's really not a one-sided draft from either team. So we could be seeing another long back-and-forth game that we saw in Game 1.
We absolutely could, Dragon. We'll just have to see going forward what ends up coming through here. Obviously, looking at the pedal into the Blackfeather and into the Catherine seems like a decent pick, but the Rhyme, if he can, take those Munions out once they're engaged in, that may be a way that SK can try to handle this, but it's so difficult to focus all of your damage onto those Munions. And Rhyme, really not the best hero into a double-ranged carry composition. Tyros is going to have to go with probably Journey Boots very early on in this game so that he can continuously have that Boots proc up and available to him so he can try to get onto PT Lamb or Rikumeza, get the root down, and try to follow up some damage that way.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look to get into game number 2, I'm really going to be interested to see just how at 2.9, specifically 2.9 to 1, like how Pedal, we see a lot of changes in items, so it's not as straightforward. And this is actually going to be my first competitive match seeing Pedal play, so I'm really excited for this. But let's get into game number 2, as we are seeing SK Gaming on the A side looking to go in and take a game off Dynasty.
Yeah, definitely going to try to, but Dynasty was looking incredibly in tune in that first game. Again, this is a team that when they bring their A game, they can compete at the top. They can bring down teams like SK, can bring down teams like G2, but we don't always see that A game come out of Dynasty. It's looking like they've brought it today, Dragon, and it's looking pretty scary.
Yeah, absolutely. As they come in here, they're going to go right for that Elder Treant, as they want to get this on the board right away. Of course, Grace able to pressure Hegman out of coming in and trying to contest that. And a very quick cleanup of that Elder Treant as well as that rotation. They're going to be able to move back here. Double carry rotation from Dynasty as well as SK. Now Blackfeather's going to finally move up to the lane.
Yeah, Blackfeather looking to get up there and get some farm under his belt. And it's definitely going to be important for them getting through and trying to get Kvalifar to a point that he can sustain long enough to come through in these fights, which is going to be difficult for him into this pedal specifically. And Mowgli giving that backline additional sustain. I want to say all day long that Dynasty Gaming won the draft here. It's going to come down to if Tyros can get to that backline, can lock up the targets. It's going to be so difficult for him to do so, though.
It is going to be Kvalifar. Oh, there he's moving now. I was going to say, it wasn't moving there for a while. He was just kind of waiting for the lane pressure, or at least the minions to drop low enough so he could go in here. We're going to see potential engagement here. Yep, Pedal goes in, finds Tyrez on the Rhyme, but now has to back away. Root comes in, tries to get the damage. Oh, but it's Karika Meza dropping very low. Look how quickly Rhyme is able to get into this fight, deal the damage, and there's just nothing Rika Meza could do. Rika Meza has to completely disengage as he tries to run away. There is a stun coming out, but Rikamez is going to drop, and that's first blood going over to SK. Now PT Lamb, he's in danger. He's going to have to back away. And this gives the whole jungle open, but holy Nova, 3 stuns to SK, and that's just going to force them to back out, as they did win the engagement. They did take a little bit of farm. Oh, but they're going to actually hang tight here, Denominate, looking to possibly pick off the Pedal before Pedal could take his backs.
Yeah, could be looking to do so here. Definitely would be smart to keep Pedal down as long as possible. Tyros is going to get those back, so that is, again, going to keep Pedal a little bit behind. 9 farm to 16 right now for Tyros, and that is going to be pretty important to make note of going forward here. Obviously, now Rikumeza and Mowgli turning their attention onto that Elder Treant there. They are going to find it, as well as try to take a little bit extra out of Tyra's jungle. Might even look for more here as they're turning towards the mids, and this could be a pretty risky call.
It could be here. Hegman, though, he's taking a lot of damage. Rikumeza's trying to find that kill. Goes in, finds it. It's just Tyrus by himself, but Tyrus, he's got to probably be careful. He's going to be able to chug through Rikumeza, but Holy Nova, nice stun. Oh, but Rikumeza drops. Oh, this Rhyme, just so much damage. Is really going to be hard. He might be able to... Are they going to find him right now? Tyrus is very low. There's the glimmer shot needed, but not before Tyrus is able to find a huge amount of damage on the PT Lamb. And actually, PT Lamb's going to drop to Catherine here. And this is just back and forth we go. 3 kills going over to SK, but Dynasty still trying to apply pressure here. They are going to steal away some of this farm.
Yeah, definitely looking to do so, and Mowgli is going to give his life for it as well. 4-2, a much quicker start to this game. Number 2, both teams being very aggressive when they need to be, but maybe being a little too over-aggressive as well, as we obviously saw Hegman stay a little too long looking to find that kill onto Rikumeza, and then the entire side of Dynasty staying a little bit too long in the enemy's jungle, as the respawns are still very short at this point in the game.
Yeah, they are. So they're able to get back into the fight very quickly. And that's something you have to be mindful when you're jungling or counter jungling. It can be very dangerous for Dynasty. Dynasty now looking to try to keep this lane pushed at the midpoint. SK poked in just a little bit, but Rhyme's now going to back off to his backs to try to farm that quickly. I don't think he wants to have to deal with Rikumeza coming back here again and contesting his backs. Nice vision so far. SK's done a good job at keeping vision around the map, so they just have a good idea of the rotations that come out of Dynasty. That did help them game 1 a little bit as well. Unfortunately, didn't help them enough to get the victory. We'll have to see how Dynasty plays to the rest of this game here. Petal starting to come online, very close to building that tier 3, the first tier 3 item. We'll see what Rikumeza goes with first with this Petal. Is going to catch Tyrus. He is down, but it's going to be Valafar and Tyrus rotating down to the shop at the same time. So Rikumeza is very cautious. Doesn't want to go in to the shop just yet until he knows he's safe. And to dominate, Rikumeza almost about ready. Should be able to get a tier 3 item here pretty soon. Does he go with that Shatterglass first, or is this a Frostburn? He does have all the items that he could go right into the Frostburn here.
Yeah, could be looking to do so. Obviously, getting this additional slow here for Petal would be very helpful, trying to follow up that damage. Can also help PT Lamb keep the targets into a very dangerous position, and that's something to make an interesting note of, is what Rikumeza ends up going for. Obviously, he could have shopped and picked up that Frostburn. We did see him go the Shatterglass first last game on Scarf. He might be going that route as well, as he now has the gold in pocket to do so if he wants to, but he has to be careful as Tyraz is down here.
Yeah, but they have a 2v2 fight. If the lane, PT Lamb drops low, has to dive underneath his turret to get protection, as Kavalifar and Hegman are doing a good job just staying out of range of the turret. They don't want to go in too deep here just yet. PT Lamb and Mowgli are both fairly low. Stunned up. Mowgli drops low. There's a lot of damage coming out. Rhymes up here. But Kavalifar, he gets blown up. One-shot kills blocked by Hegman. But there's a nice Valkyrie by Tyrus as he looks to come in. He comes into the fight doing a lot of damage. He's so tanky with that fortified health. And now he's going to move down here trying to find something. Takes a few glimmer shots. He drops low. Fountains popped by both teams, so neither of them can rely on that. It's actually PT Lamb and Mowgli that are pretty full health. So they're able to keep this lane pushed up here as Rikumeza rotates down to try to get some of the heal from Treants here. And going to be a double farm rotation, or double rotation by Dynasty as they share some of that ambient. And then rotate back up here the lane. Being contested again, Denominate. As SK just trying to find some way to get onto this turret. But Dynasty has done a good job at moving together. They've really felt in sync, Denominate, for most of these for both games in the series so far. Even if they lose a kill, they're really on the same page, and they've been able to mitigate the kind of damage they give up here.
Yeah, they've definitely been looking absolutely great. Kavalifar has picked up a very early infusion here, level 7 on this Blackfeather. Finds a kill.
That was fast. They just focused in. PT Lamb dropping about as fast as you can. As they tried to catch him before he went to the turret. Now this is going to open up their turret here. Nice holding Nova. Gets 2 stuns. As Rikumeza comes up. They're going to save their turret here. They're going to do a lot of damage. They do find the kill. Grace goes in the last second and finds Rhyme as he's unable to get away. And that's going to be a nice trade. And they keep their turret alive.
Yeah, beautiful start here for them. Capitalizing on that play was, really, one of the most notable things we've seen out of them this game. We've seen some interesting rotations. Hegman, you're in a bad spot, man.
He's so low, gets out. Does they find the kill? They're looking to try to find something on the Kavalifar. Holy Nova misses, but they get the turret. And that's not a bad objective to get here early on, as SK was looking for it and unable to get it. They are going to get I was going to say, almost got the stun on the PT Lamb, but it's actually going to be Mowgli who gets the stun. And they're going to be able to stay here. Dynasty able to keep the lane from pushing into their turret yet again and keep their turret alive.
Yeah, and a great start for Dynasty here. PT Lamb is doing great work on this Kestrel. Unfortunately, has got picked a couple times. But as far as the team fights go, his momentum that he has around the fight has really provided them a lot of damage. Obviously, the Sorrow Blade complete, the Tyrant's Monocle complete, working into that second one as well as he takes the opportunity to recall. No infusion out of him, though. He did have the golden pocket, but obviously wants to get that additional critical online. And now it is SK Gaming in the lane again. Possibly could be looking for another pick, but a good flare out of Mowgli is going to get them spotted.
Yeah, they tried to push in. They are still going to look to try to get this turret as the barrier's down, but they have to back away because all three members of Dynasty are here, and they cannot give up a kill. They don't want to anyways, as the gold mine is full right now. That would be a big objective we'd see take if either team finds a victory. Oh, Rikameza, he's blown up. Nice job. Stun and the blast tremor helps keep Rikameza locked in. They're going to find the turret as well as they look to keep pushing in on to Dynasty. There's going to be an active camo. It's not going to land. Oh, it does find Tyrese, but not before a great route by Tyrese is able to find the kill. That's going to be an ace coming out for SK. The huge team fight for them as they are able to now take 2 turrets off the back of that engagement.
Yeah, huge fight coming out from SK there. Getting a little bit of an update, though, that Frostburn apparently does not work on Petal's Munions anymore. So obviously Rikameza has gone with the Shatter Glass first item and now into one of those broken up pieces. Obviously, we used to have the Broken Myth that would scale up in the fight. That has been changed. It is now 30% Pierce on Broken Myth, and I believe it is the Dragon's Eye, Dragonborn?
Yep.
Dragon's Eye, which will scale up similar to how Broken Myth used to. It'll be gaining crystal power instead this time around.
Yeah, so it's going to be still a lot of damage for Rikameza, but he's got to scale quickly. A lot of defense has actually been built on the side of SK, so I would expect to see a Broken Myth come in here pretty soon for Rikameza. Probably his next item, either third or fourth. He builds the infusion for right now, but has to be mindful of the fact that, Blackfeather right now, for instance, has the Aegis, so Cavalifar is going to be really hard to take down. And a Petal kind of squishy at the moment, Denominate. Rikameza has to just, make sure he doesn't get caught in these fights. When he gets caught down, when he gets, stunned, he usually blows up. And that is a problem for Dynasty's composition right now. They need to correct that as they get into these fights.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Cavalifar level 10 now has re-infused and is looking for another fight. He does have the Aegis available to him now that is online and ready to go as soon as the next fight breaks out. He'll have that additional block to go with his Rose offensives. And Hegman now looking for a stun.
Gets a stun, but not before Rikameza was able to jump out of the fight to get out of harm's way. Finds a little bit of damage on the Tyrus, so that Tyrus actually going back is going to probably go for that Treant real quick. So this is just going to be Dynasty relieving some of the pressure that SK has been able to apply for the last 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, I mean, for most of this game, really. Dynasty done a good job early, but recently just struggling a little bit. And it's really been just Tyrus on this Rhyme. Almost impossible to deal with in the jungle, even if you're a Petal. They're going to be able to dodge that stun. As Cavalifar and company now looking to maybe push up to this turret. There's a big wave there. They probably could have gone in a little bit. Instead, they're going to rotate down and take this Crystal Sentry.
Yeah, taking it very, very quickly with the damage that Rhyme and this Blackfeather have. Obviously, Blackfeather will scale up in team fights a little bit more than he will against these objectives. But, definitely, the Rhyme with these Winter Spires doing a huge amount of work. He has the Dragon's Eye. He has the Eve of Harvest as well. So he has ramping up damage as well as he has that sustain and additional energy regeneration as well. and is looking to get an Aegis of his own here. And Rikumeza sitting with a level 11, almost level 12 infusion in his pocket, should be looking to pop that pretty soon here, and Dynasty can look for a fight.
And they do. They go in. We do see the Blast Tremor coming out here early. PT Lamb's dropping low. He's going to get the heal from Grace, but he's going so low. He's going to be dropped here. And Rikumeza, he's got a few stacks, but he's not able to find the damage that he needs. Cavalifar just with that Aegis is so tanky here. And there's a nice reflex block. Cavalifar able to... Oh, he's going to finally go down. But it's a 1v2 trade. Definitely favoring SK as they look to continue pushing. It's going to be Rikumeza now. Clears out some of this vision, but has to recall. And this is going to be SK now looking for a third turret here in the lane. And maybe a chance to reapply the pressure. Look at the vision, too. SK has Dynasty. They are just, right now, in a position where they can move pretty freely through the jungle of Dynasty and not have to fear for their life, not being caught out or ganked. And so that's just going to give them a huge edge for the next few minutes.
Yeah, and I do want to make note that SK left that turret alive, expecting the minions to take it, and it lived with a sliver of health. So not getting that additional gold funneled into their pockets is kind of a little bit of a loss on that push there, if you ask me.
Yeah, a little bit. They didn't get much for it. Gold mine, of course, is going to be taken over by Kraken here. When we look at the gold lead between these two teams, SK has a turret victory, but they don't have a gold lead. They're actually just right in line with Dynasty here. And what this means is that in these fights, it really could go either way.
Yeah, it absolutely could, and we've seen it in the past couple of fights. When Tyras can get onto PT Lamb, they're able to find kills. Mowgli's coming a little bit far here, but Dynasty is looking to turn that attention around. Obviously, Kraken on the board. The next team to lose a fight is likely losing out on that objective. So both of these teams have to be very cautious here going forward.
Yeah, they're going to get another Crystal Sentry, though. And with that, they're going to be able to, again, keep this pressure in the jungle going. That, one more live on that Crystal Sentry, and it'll be deleted. And then there's really going to be very little as far as vision and control that Dynasty will be able to apply if SK decides to go in for a fight in the jungle here. Kraken's also up, and there's just an insane amount of vision. I would be surprised if SK actually thinks about maybe starting this Kraken up. As they're going to clear out some of this farm, but you really don't want to give any time over to Petal to get more items. You don't want to really see PT Lamb or Mowgli build those Aegis, or Rikumeza build the Aegis. I mean, because they're actually on track for that. So it's just, again, a lot of time that you really could eliminate by taking a Kraken early, pressing the fight when you have the advantage.
Yeah, and they've invested a lot of time at this point in, and it is SK winning these past couple fights, but nothing really to say that Dynasty Gaming is out here. They could still easily find the War Treads are popped. Here comes Dynasty.
They're going in. There's a silence. Blast Tremor lands. Able to get sub. It's nicely blocked out, but there's another silence coming in, and they find the kill. SK, they're looking for Rikumeza. He's next up, and he's going to get blown up. Mowgli, the last man standing, and is he going to get away? He might be able to get away here, but this is absolutely going to be a Kraken as you see Tyra's already starting it up.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a Kraken, and Cavalifar should be able to take down this turret before the Kraken gets there, so that will save that Kraken quite a substantial amount of health, as obviously that is a percentage of damage that the turret explosion takes away. And this is SK now in a beautiful spot, looking forward to the rest of this game. Nothing that Mowgli can do. This Kraken is taken. They'll all get topped off by that Kraken buff. And, should see another infusion come out here, coming out of Tyra's, I would expect, but we'll have to see. Nope, he is going to complete the Aegis and pick up there. He did pick up an infusion in pocket. Okay, so SK looking for this final push to close out this game, but will they be able to find it, Dragon? That's going to be the big question. Dynasty Gaming on the run, locked up, PT Lamb.
Oh, huge silence comes in too, and you see him. PT Lamb's going to get blown up again. They've done such a good job at being able to collapse upon him. There's a stun coming up, but there is that Kraken pushing up at SK. Oh, they want this game. They want this series here. Mowgli's going to have to just take this kill as Rikumeza recalls back. This Kraken's pushing up at the Dominate. I just don't see how Rikumeza can defend this.
Well, I don't know if Rikumeza can defend it. That's the rough thing here, is that all three members of SK are here pushing in on this turret. The Kraken is still very healthy, and SK gonna be able to close this game out. Absolutely no problem. That Crystal is falling incredibly quickly. And we are now tied 1-1 in this first series. Winning this series gives you a chance at 6 additional points on our Sunday games that will be featured on the Vainglory 8.
Yeah, and of course, getting a point here, I mean, it's going to be huge. Actually, SK just really needs every point they could get to keep building that lead. So even 1 point kind of helps them further their distance from some of the other teams here that are looking to vie for that first seed spot. But right now, they now are looking to change the momentum and possibly take this from Dynasty. It's going to be a third and final game. We'll see if they can make it happen. We're going to take a quick break, everybody, as we get ready for game number 3. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back after this.
$14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are looking to get into game number 3 here in this best of 3 series. SK versus Dynasty Gaming. A real battle for the top in Europe going on right here, as both these teams really, honestly, have the best shot at trying to get that first seed, with really SK having it locked up right now, and Dynasty in the 3rd seed spot with 11 points. Not really in striking distance just yet to nominate, but definitely with 4 weeks of points. I believe that's a total of, what is that, like 12, I think it's 6 total points per week, or no, it's more than that.
It's 8 possible. If you win the semifinal games, you get the additional 2 points moving into the finals. So just making it to the finals is a guaranteed 4 points for the week. Or guaranteed 6 points for the week, sorry. Right. Guaranteed 6 points for the week.
So with 32 points on the board for these teams to be able to accumulate, definitely, being down by only 12 or 13 points, not a big deal. So we should be just about ready here. Let me just check in on both teams to see if they're ready to go. And just see, make sure I don't want to start too soon. But again, a lot of points on the board, still left to be accumulated by all of these teams. So, it's not quite, it's the picture's starting to clear up about who's going to be that first seed in Europe. We're starting to see, again, the top 3 teams. It is G2, SK, and Dynasty that kind of sit there in the top 3. But SK, so far ahead of everybody else, they really have the best spot. And now we're just waiting for confirmation from the last player here from the side. Yep, they look like they're ready to go. All right, let's jump right into it.
The draft begins.
Game number 3, Dynasty, as Dynasty moves back over to A side.
Yeah, going to be fun to see how this draft goes. We've seen 100% Reza ban so far as the off-stream games go, at least. Obviously, a couple people have mentioned to us that Tyra's has been very, very good on that hero on the live server. They're going to ban it away 3 for 3 coming out on the Reza ban, and a Black Feather is going to follow it up. Obviously, going to take Kavalifar and PT Lamb off of that hero, but a Rhyme first pick coming through for the side of Dynasty. And we've seen him have huge performances.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely a huge factor in game number 2 there. SK able to do a lot of work. So, but with that, Cruel's going to be the next pickup. So Rhyme into Cruel. Now, the way these matchups work, it's pretty even, actually, to see these two guys go head-to-head. Who typically comes out on top to nominate? And what factors will go into as far as how they want to build a composition around these two heroes?
Well, as far as like an individual matchup between Krull and Rhyme, Krull should win out on a 1v1, but fortunately for the side of Dynasty, this is not a 1v1 game. This is a 3v3, and Rhyme does have a little additional control over, I would say, the Krull. Obviously, that ultimate coming through can potentially stun up multiple targets coming out of the Rhyme. That's a little bit of additional benefit. The Winter Spires obviously just do more brunt damage, upfront damage than the Krull's going to be able to, whereas Krull is a little bit more of that utility in himself. So stacking up that Spectral Smite stacks, he'll be able to reduce the outgoing damage of the enemy heroes that he has those stacks on by a percentage. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be key for how the Krull needs to be played. He's a very in-your-face damage dealer. The Catherine going to get blocked off, and a Lyra coming through now.
Now, that's interesting they banned the Catherine. I actually thought SK would take Grace in this point of view, because I actually think Catherine probably would have been the last support to really give Grace a hard time. Now, if you're Dynasty, you almost have to take Grace, and I do think Grace with the Rhyme would play better than Cruel with Lyra, but both are healers. Both offer some sustain. I just think that the Lyra pick doesn't offer the same kind of crowd control that you would see from the Grace, who would really punish that Cruel if he gets in too close.
Yeah, definitely some potential to go Grace here. Obviously, when Krull tries to dive into that back line, we talked about it earlier, that Holy Nova can set up great plays onto that Krull. It is going to be a Kestrel coming through for the side of Dynasty now, and we know the sheer amount of damage that a Kestrel and a Rhyme can, and Adagio, that's pretty interesting. I don't know if I like the Adagio pickup here specifically because we talked about that Grace Holy Nova into Krull is such a good utility. I'm not sure. I'm
not sure either. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, there is the chance to the Versive Judgment the Cruel. Like, if Cruel comes in, you can Versive Judgment that, but that's just still that's such a huge wind-up. The Holy Nova's up way more frequently. I really don't see the advantage of the Adagio here. I don't even think the heal is better than Grace. So we'll have to see how this plays out. And honestly, SK, they have to pick their last hero. Likely going to be their laner unless they did Crystal Lyra in the lane, which I don't foresee that. So, they could go a number of things here, including going Celeste in the lane, which we haven't seen Celeste picked, but yet definitely a very strong hero. And, with the changes to how Crystal items work, Celeste probably benefits most from, like, Dragon's Eye and from the Pierce.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see how these teams are going to bring out those different items now. We obviously have that Broken Myth is now broken up into 2 items, the Dragon's Eye and the Broken Myth. Mm-hmm. But we haven't yet seen them paired together, which is a little interesting to me. It's going to be interesting to see how this Celeste builds. I do think if any hero is going to go that route and build, we typically see these Celestes go with that 4-item offense build. So I do think that if we're going to see both the Broken Myth and the Dragon's Eye come out, it should be on a lane Celeste or a lane Scarf. We should have that matchup here. We'll get to see just how effective those 2 items are when they are paired together, because, again, I feel like that's going to be probably your best route going on the Celeste. You want that scaling up damage. You want that additional pierce as well. 30% is nothing to joke about here, especially with the prioritization. Kestrel only going to be going with one defensive item. Probably will be that Aegis. So I got to imagine that Kvalifar on Celeste is going to go for the Brocamyth at least.
Yeah, I have to imagine as well. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. We are waiting to get back into this just a second here. As we will be starting the game momentarily. I have to say, I almost would have loved Dynasty's draft way more, but the Adagio pick is fascinating to me. But there could be, one of the things that Adagio does bring is the constant ability to heal and then buff for damage. And for Rhyme, if Rhyme does lock onto a target, he's going to have that, he's going to be, you know, a crystal Rhyme, but he's going to be able to do a lot more basic attack damage as well, which, you know, will benefit him quite a bit as he's looking to get onto those targets. So there's that. The other thing, too, is Kestrel will benefit a lot from the Adagio, I think. I think that's where Adagio with Kestrel makes a lot of sense. I just don't think that's how most of your games are going to start. So you really have a really squishy backline with this Adagio Kestrel. That Rhyme, I think he's got a lot of work to do to nominate, and I think that the heal from Lyra is way more reliable. That Cruel's going to really not have any struggles. He's going to be able to get onto Kestrel or Rhyme pretty easily.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the Rhyme and the Adagio making sure that PT Lamb is able to be safe on that back line. We obviously have the root coming out of Rhyme. We have the slow coming out of Adagio if he does self-heal in that initial engagement, as well as in that Verse of Judgment can follow up for a stun as well. But if Rhyme is committing his root onto Krull, then it's going to allow Celeste to play that back line. And I think Celeste is a much better AoE hero than either the Rhyme or the Adagio at this point.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. So we are finally getting into game number 3 here, everybody. It did take a little bit. We had to sort some technical things out, and now those are sorted. We'll be jumping into this in just a few seconds and jumping into the fold as we look to get into it. But, you know, with this denominate, who's it going to be? Dynasty or SK? Who, when you look at the draft composition and play style from the last 2 games, is going to come on top?
I don't just want to look at the draft or how game 1 or game 2 played. I want to look at the fact that SK has specifically been the most consistent team in Europe. They've been taken to game 3s before, but have always come out on top. Their endurance as far as playing is very high, so that is something to make huge note of here. Dynasty Gaming making a very aggressive push here, though.
Yes, they are coming in here, looking to come in hot and try to take this game early, and they go all the way to that Treant. They're going to get the Elder Treant as well.
Yeah, they are looking to get off on a good foot here. They know how slow of a farm Krull has at the beginning of the game. That is that Elder Treant going on over to Riku Meza, and now Dynasty Gaming looking to rotate to the backs, split that ambient golden experience. But meanwhile, Kvalifar is up in the lane trying to get this wave pushed as quick as possible. And if Kvalifar can get the wave underneath turret and force PT Lamb to miss out on something, then he's going to be in a much better spot. But it doesn't look like he's going to miss out on too much. A couple of the minions here are dropping, but not quite able to force it under turret yet.
Yeah, and he actually missed out on some some minions here. Mowgli gets a core collapse, stuns up and takes a heliogenesis for his trouble, so he's a little low, but he's going to heal up pretty quickly. Largely partly due to that flask coming out, as well as his own heal. Riku Meza here on the Rhyme. We've seen Riku Meza play just about everything. This guy, so versatile, really coming in and becoming an all-star from the last live championship, proving everybody that he deserves to be on the stage. And now just trying to find something here. Oh, Lyra tried to steal SK, but they're not going to be able to get that steal in a way. And Dynasty's early aggressive rotation paying off a little bit. They're about 600 or 700 gold ahead of SK here for the early part, and not giving up any farm for that matter. Ooh, Riku Meza finds a nice root. Tyrus has to get out.
Yeah, Tyrus is forced out. Krull not at that tanky stage of the game yet. He does have 2 weapon blades and boots in pocket, so I have to imagine he's probably going for the tension bow first item, obviously with the health changes. In this 2.9.1 update, tension bow obviously had to have some additional damage thrown onto it to compensate for those changes. So still a viable item. Obviously getting that additional pierce as well, or what is armor breaker now, right, Dragonborn?
Right, exactly.
So does still have that additional utility in pocket. That is absolutely huge for them, going into what's essentially going to be a low defense game already for the side of Dynasty Gaming. So just to get through some of that additional natural defense that these heroes have should be pretty helpful for Tyras.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely going to try to be able to be that tanky. We always see Cruel played this way when it's a weapon Cruel, to just, sustain through the fight, because eventually those auto attacks build up and they do a lot in return here. Cavalifar is starting to finally do a little bit better job here. He's right in line with PT Lamb as far as farm, but he's trying to keep pushing the lane up here, and has done a good job at forcing PT Lamb just to farm under his own turret. They are going to try to find some damage here on to Cavalifar. This is where Mowgli's kind of like a third carry in the early part of this game, because he's able to buff himself and do a sizable chunk of damage here without building any attack items. So you see that kind of on full display right there, as he does find actually Mowgli, and is able to push Cavalifar back a little bit. Not Mowgli, Cavalifar.
4 minutes into the game, Jungle has now intensified. That Jungle Shop is available, and we see all of Dynasty Gaming taking the opportunity to rotate down and take advantage of that shop. That is a Sorrow Blade picked up for PT Lamb, which is going to provide a lot of burst as well as help him farm out the lane minions pretty quickly here. Valifar not quite at that tier 3 point. If we look at his build, he's really split up his damage quite a substantial amount, which makes it a little bit more difficult for him to complete a tier 3 item. And it has its ups and downs, but right now it's looking like a down for sure, as PT Lamb is clearly going to have the higher amount of damage output with the Sorrow Blade complete.
He is right now, but SK does a good job pushing away the minions, defending their turrets. So a lot of damage coming out from Dynasty, but they aren't able to find anything for it just yet. As Tyras and Cavalifar just a little bit behind on their items. They haven't built their first tier 3 just yet. They prioritize a little bit more defense and building out more of a wider build path here for both of them.
Yeah, definitely looking for something here. I think Cavalifar probably going to go with that Eve of Harvest first, as it is a Lane Celeste. That is the number 1 item we usually see them go for. But, we've been proven wrong before. And Cavalifar still up here in the lane, making sure he's not missing out on any farm and trying his best to make sure PT Lamb misses out on something. But it is all of Dynasty now rotating into the lane as well. And SK actually now going to rotate down. That was a lot of time wasted in the lane there.
Yeah, they really just were trying to, like you said, try to pressure the lane, trying to move it forward. They're not really finding that. You see Dynasty's done a good job at keeping it pushed up to the midpoint at the mid 50-yard line and not allowing SK really kind of that advantage. Lane aggression, it's very important. It's a very important balance. And they haven't really had to waste a lot of time in the lane to make that happen. So Dynasty, I actually say, is a good shot. They are going to 3-man rotate up here, try to fight Cavalifar. There's going to be no root. Versus Judgment comes out. It's going to clear out these waves. And it's just going to be really just 2 minions pushing into this turret. A few glimmer shots to boot, but that's about it. So again, both teams looking to try to find some kind of early advantage here, but it's not going to be enough. Mowgli, though, he has to use a fountain. He gets stunned up here, but it's Rico Meza turning his attention onto Tyras. And look at the damage. Rico Meza trades it perfectly, takes Tyras out, and that's first blood.
Yeah, PT Lamb coming through with that final hit there. That is going to be gold going on to the side of Dynasty Gaming now. An additional 200 is a good way to start off a game, especially when it's on your kind of hyper carry hero. Obviously, this Kestrel going to be going with 4 offensive items. Not quite able to take down the turret. In fact, Cavalifar doing a great job forcing them out. Oh, here, Rickomeza's coming in!
And they're going to find it. He gives up his life, but it's not a bad trade. Lyra tries to jump in. Oh, they're going to portal onto PT Lamb and find another kill. Oh, but PT Lamb runs away the opposite direction to try to escape. I think Tyrus is going to find him right there. He does. Mowgli now just has to avoid giving up the ace. Oh, no, Rickomeza just respawned, so it's not going to be an ace going over. But SK is going to be able to possibly find their turret, as it's completely unable to be defended. Yeah, it is. So it's going to be a turret traded between both teams. And a lot of that on the back of Hegman doing a great job with that portal. So just, bring Cavalifar right on top of PT Lamb and get that kill.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was trying to call out there that they shouldn't get that turret, is that was a incredible amount of overstay, and to lose out on your own turret after giving everything up to take the enemy's turret, you don't really win out on anything at that point. 2 kills in SK's pocket. The first blood did go to Dynasty Gaming, but, the gold's still pretty even here.
It really is. This looks a lot like game number 2, where you're seeing kind of like 1 and 2 early. A lot of closeness in game. The objectives are close. The fights are close. Could possibly be another long game, as we saw game number 1 going to 25 minutes and back and forth. Each team getting a crack in and able to push here. So SK hopefully going to be able to try to find some success this time, as they did just barely get beat by Dynasty in game 1.
Yeah, both games were actually pretty well played by both teams. At no point did it really, look 100% like it was going to go one way or another up until the end. These teams are coming off pretty evenly matched here in game number 3 as well. Again, I'm not sure I'm too in love with the Adagio pick here. We've seen the Verse of Judgment already come out a couple times, not able to connect onto anything. So it's a pretty long cooldown to try to rely on having a team-wide stun.
It sure is, and I really don't think the stun helps much. Maybe clearing out the wave a little bit when you're pushing or defending it might be a little bit useful here. We are going to see SK stick around in the lane, looking to try to find this next turret or a kill. Ricomez is going to come up from the bot side of the lane, going to try to move in, try to wedge actually Cavalifar away from Lyra. It's not going to work, but it's Tyrez. He's actually trying to hide out in the jungle, get spotted out there, so he's going to leave. And right now, just kind of a little bit of poking back and forth between SK and Dynasty. Neither team committing to the fight, so it's going to be SK backing off.
Yeah, and SK, doing their best to stay in the game here. Again, the gold lead only about 500 for the side of Dynasty after a pretty good start for them as well. They were able to steal away a lot on that first rotation. They were able to get first blood, but then just a little bit of a misplay did give a additional burst of gold into SK's pocket. Now it's Cavalifar and Tyraz sharing some more ambient gold and experience there in the back. Shatterglass and Eve of Harvest complete for Cavalifar, so maybe not quite the build I would have expected to see, but just going for that raw amount of damage never hurts on a hero like Celeste.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what he does go for his third item. Might be a Dragon Eye, might be that Broken Myth. We don't see Dragon Eye built all the time. A lot of discussion about it being very strong, but it still is a situational. But there is an double stun, but followed up by the Solar Storm, and they just delete PT Lamb. And SK, they are looking poised here, trying to go in. They're going to find this turret. Tyrez, he does not even need to worry, blocks out that Verse of Judgment stun, and it finds the turret as well. Now they're turning their attention onto Rika Mezzo, but they're going to find Mowgli, who's a little bit farther back here. Do they get the kill? Nope. Mowgli boots his way and able to stay away from danger. Not going to go down, as PTA Lamb does come back up now after that death here. It's only 11 minutes, so these death timers are still pretty quick.
Yeah, still pretty quick. Obviously, Kraken's not on the board either, so Goldmine's still here and available for these teams to take at any point if they're able to find an opportunity to do so. But neither team really won out well enough yet to, be able to follow up on that. It is now SK just getting more ambient gold between Cavalifar and Tyraz, looking to get this Celeste online as quick as possible. The clockwork has come out for that third offensive item. So for the fourth, I can only imagine it'll be that Broken Myth or the Dragon's Eye. We've yet to see both of them combined. But, SK, I think they're in a pretty good spot right now. Cavalifar, obviously level 11. We have the extended range on the Heliogenesis available, and that's going to provide him a little bit of additional safety on how far back he can play.
Yeah, Tyrez, though, he finds Rika Mezzo, looks to go in, but there's a nice route. He's going to have to back off. Lyra used the sigil just defensively in that case. Dynasty just trying to find that window of opening here. in SK's arbor, maybe looking for really a mistake at this point, because there's just too much crowd control here if they could get the double stuns off. And we saw that already twice from Hell's Heart, and the Core Collapse are able to find out one of the members of Dynasty, and then it just lights out here. But Mowgli looks to go in, finds the Verse of Judgment. It's going to be a nice job. It's going to fit one stun here. It's actually just Lyra. Hegman gets stunned up by here, but Rikumeza, he's just not trading well into Tyrus, and now he's going to watch out. He's got to get away. Tyrus finds the kill, and Rhyme just is unable to find anything into this Cruel here, as you already see Breaking Point and all defense doing the trick, and just a Shatter Glass built on Rikumeza. Not quite the impact that Rhyme would like to have here. Nice block on that Hell's Heart from PT Lamb. Doesn't want to get stunned up there. So it's not going to be another turret for SK, but it is going to be another fight in their favor as they continue to dominate game number 3.
Yeah, they are, and they're turning their attention onto the gold mine, looking to go ahead and start that one up. It is going to be a probably 400 gold payout going over to the side of SK. With just Mowgli here, I don't think they can even come over and contest. So that's a pretty decent chunk of gold there for SK. They're taking a pretty sizable lead now. 2,500 gold in their favor as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that gold mine was definitely a big boost here. It, of course, gives 400 gold per player, so it's a big jump. And that's exactly what SK ordered as they look to try to go in here. Wow, Tyrus. I think he was just trying to bait out some of Dynasty there as he does back away almost as fast as he ran in. Just really looking for a potential mistake here from Dynasty. Dynasty has to play so cautious as they do not want to overstay their welcome here in the part of the lane. They're going to stay under the turret and go in. There comes the Verse of Judgment. Is it going to come out? No, Mowgli saving it as they look to try to keep applying pressure. Here comes the Verse. It's going to stun up all 3 members of SK. And Tyrus, he's very low, but Solar Storm comes out. They're going to, it's going to be a kill onto Tyrus. PT Lambdo drops right after thanks to the Core Collapse. And Celeste is able to get the trade there. Rikumeza very low, has to be careful, as Cavalifar and Hegman are basically full health at this point, as they're going to rotate down. They're looking for whatever farm they can get. I don't think they're going to be able to find Rikumeza, so now they're just going to back off, happy enough to take away some of this farm and maybe this Crystal Sentry.
Yeah, looking to take it down, and Celeste does a pretty good job into those neutral objectives and jungle objectives, just because they don't move out of the way of your Helios. You can literally just sit there and rain the damage in. It's high burst amounts of damage that she's able to sustain very easily. And Cavalifar, now working into that Pierce, it does appear he's going to be going towards that Broken Myth. He has $2,000 in his pocket, so should be able to get that item online here pretty quickly as well. Possibly even the next time he touches the shop. He does not have enough gold to pick up that and reinfuse. So that is going to be something to make note of here, as he does pick up that Broken Myth. Obviously, we've had the changes to that item, and now might be looking for a fight here as well. It is 80% Crystal Power now and 30% Shield Pierce. So that is a pretty sizable amount of Pierce for just one item.
Yeah, and actually, even though Pierce in general doesn't do as well, the 30% Pierce actually is better. Than, the number-wise, than what the 10% Pierce did under the old update, under the old formula. So it still is actually a net gain as far as damage, especially with they build a lot of armor. Broken Myth absolutely has a big impact into the late game.
A little bit of additional Crystal Power as well,
exactly.
Up from 70 to 80. Not much, but I mean, if that's enough to get you that extra couple damage just to take somebody's life. Here we go, Dynasty coming in.
Look to go in, Rikumeza goes in hard here. It's actually Tyrus dropping very low. Rikumeza fights Cavalifar, deletes him, and Tyrus got stunned up. Verse of Judgment actually working. Surprisingly, Hellheart comes in, gets a stun of PT Lamb, but it's not going to make a difference. And now it's just Hegman. He's running for his life. Had to use the portal to get out, but it's going to be a Kraken going over to Dynasty, and SK running with their tail between their legs. They just have no answer for that fight. Absolutely shocking. They've been playing so well in team fights the whole game, but unable to show up in that final moment. And now it's going to be Dynasty looking to try to take this Kraken. It's going to be a Dynasty Kraken. Hegman could get in there in time with that Lyra sigil. So he's going to have to back off. And now, Dynasty could take this game completely over. We saw this in game number 1. It went back and forth between Dynasty and SK, especially with these Krakens.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is Dynasty in a good spot. The Adagio seems to be working out pretty well for them. Mowgli's been able to find those team-wide slows and stuns that we talked about may be difficult to do earlier on. And now it is SK just trying to take this Kraken down as quick as possible. And Dynasty Gaming obviously looking to get this turret down so they can find that choke point as well. But will they be able to have the damage? It does not look like they're even going to make the attempt.
They're not. They're just going to have to back off, and it's going to be Crystal Sentry going over to Dynasty, and they get, of course, one additional turret. But what they do get is an even Sentry game. They get both. I mean, turrets even on both teams, as this is a good net gain for Dynasty. They don't get a gold lead from that denominate, but they do get a pressure advantage now going into the next team fight that they just didn't have for most of this game. SK really had been leading this game, even not in gold, but definitely in team fights, in pressure, and really didn't feel like they were actually at a disadvantage until now. Now they have to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Either of these teams could still pull this game off here, as obviously we are now even on the turrets. So we will have to see if it ends up going SK's way or Dynasty Gaming. What happened specifically in that last fight was Rhyme got onto Kvalifar and forced him forward, which put him in a dangerous spot for PT Lamb to rain those glimmer shots in. They were able to find the damage onto him. They were able to find the kill. And, you know, as the Celeste, your range needs to be your advantage. If you're in the front line, it is going to be bad for you time and time again.
And that's exactly what happened. He looks to do it again. He's going to get core collapse and Hell's Heart blocking, going and giving the stun, but Kvalifar is very low. Versus Judgment comes out and does a perfect job. They're able to get the kill onto Celeste, and now it's Tyrez who's dropping very low. And this Adagio, we were doubting it to nominate, but it has been a huge playmaker, able to really pressure in these team fights and force out reflex blocks if they haven't already been used, or it gets the stun, which surprisingly has been very reliable for this Adagio for most of this game. And just like that, Dynasty now, they are looking to pressure this final lane turret, and they are in great shape here as Kraken's going to be spawning up pretty soon.
Yeah, they will be. That choke point turret now is down. It is going to be Dynasty actually recalling here. Hegman can stop it. He's going to buy some time. Rikumeza and Mowgli are now forced to run away. And Rikumeza, since he did use those journey boots without getting damage onto an enemy hero, will not receive that additional cooldown speed from that item. So boots will be cooling down for a minute here as he looks to get some of his farm. And now it is SK all back on the fold, looking to come in and find anything they can at this point. One fight for either of these teams could spell absolute disaster. Kraken is back on the board now, and Dynasty Gaming is already a little bit low on the health pool. I mean, they're pretty high still, but I mean, any missing health this late in the game could change a fight.
Well, it's going to be a few seconds before the fight breaks out as they both are just trying to keep their distance. This is where Celeste is going to be a real pain for Dynasty. As you see Kvalifar able to put down those Heliogenesis in the bush and able to just kind of spam zone and force out Dynasty from wherever they were kind of hanging out from the position, really. Another recall comes back from Dynasty as they look to go back, get some more items, and now get ready and primed for this next team fight. SK looking to try to find maybe just a positional disadvantage here or advantage for them. PT Lab actually looking to go in. Wow, they got everyone kind of like trying to move very quickly here and speed things up. As they are just, again, trying to catch either team out with a little bit of poke damage early. As Kvalifar here. Journey Boots, again, by PT Lamb. And we don't see Journey Boots a whole lot in previous updates, but we are seeing it come out here a few times. Actually, 2 Journey Boots on both Rikumeza and PT Lamb. So they're going to be able to run around this map and get to where they need to go very quickly.
Yeah, and more specifically, they can use their boots multiple times during a team fight, as it'll obviously reset that cooldown to 12 seconds if they get any damage down. But here we go. Rikumeza and Dynasty Gaming are coming in. They've interrupted this Kraken take. Dragon, this is a rough spot for them to be in.
Yeah, Dynasty, they're not starting off well, but they're looking to go in. They find Kvalifar. Kvalifar's taking a lot of damage. Versus Judgment out. Oh, Echo versus Judgment's coming out again. as they look to try to get that damage here. It's going to be a 1v1 trade, but Cruel's still in the fight. Can Rikumeza and Mowgli take down Tyrus? Auto. Oh, Cruel's too tanky. Now look at that heal. He's all the way back up at full health. Going to force out Mowgli and Rikumeza out of the fight. And actually, Mowgli very cheekily takes the portal back through the other way and prevents SK from getting that second kill of the fight. So it is a 1v1 kill, but they get the Kraken right in the middle of that, which I failed to note. And that's a huge win for SK, as now, although they're not at full force, they are going to be able to push in and potentially even up these turrets again.
Yeah, definitely going to be looking to do so, as that choke point turret is so low. But we still have Kvalifar down for 5 seconds, so we won't get the full pushing power that a Celeste can have with that Kraken. As now, with Dynasty Gaming up and the short distance for PT Lamb to get to that Kraken, they'll be able to take it down very quickly. They'll get a couple smacks on this turret, but not a whole lot here. In fact, it is only going to be 2, with a Solar Storm coming through there as well, clipping some damage. But, you know, again, it's just not a whole lot right now, Dragon. Both of these teams still in a really good spot. We're getting to the point that all of these builds are pretty close to being maxed out, with the exception of looking over at Rikumeza. You know, he's obviously trying to get into that third offensive item. Probably going to be either that Dragon's Eye or the Broken Myth. We're not entirely sure yet what he'll prioritize. But Kvalifar with his full build and PT Lamb with his full build, definitely going to be looking to get that huge amount of burst damage that both of these heroes can provide. But again, Kvalifar has to be a little bit more careful about his positioning. We've seen him get caught out, time and time again. And PT Lamb has actually sold the Journey boots and picked up Halcyon Chargers.
I just saw that as well. So interesting decision here. Of course, you see War Treads built. They actually popped the War Treads, but they're not going to find anything for it just yet. Tyrus, he's a little bit low. They actually use the Crucible maybe a little bit too early. Neither team really able to fully commit to these fights here. But they go in, they find Rikumeza. He's low, but Tyrus gets locked up. There's the Verse of Judgment and the Valkyrie coming out. They do just miss Tyrus, as he did use a reflex defensively anyways from Hell's Heart, looking to try to come in and get the stun. They get the stun, and it's Rikumeza locked up. Core Collapse keeps him there even longer. The Solar Storm gets the kill, and just like that, SK are trying to take this game back over. PT Lamb is very low, and Mowgli is caught between a rock and a hard spot. Can PT Lamb get out of here? He's not going to. He drops Mowgli the next to fall, and that's an ace for SK. Oh my goodness, the nomination, huge ace, and it looks like SK's got this game.
They absolutely should be able to close it out. SK, the reigning European champions, going to find game number 3 here with these long death timers on the side of Dynasty. There's absolutely nothing they can do. All 3 members of SK here with the ace minions pushing it in. That's game number 3, and SK off to a good start for week number 1 here of split number 2. Taking down one of their closest competitors in day number 1 is going to set Dynasty incredibly far back.
Yeah, that's a huge drop for Dynasty. They wanted this. They really showed up today. These were long games, over 24 minutes for game 1 and game 3, and they went back and forth. You could not have predicted who was going to win those games when you got to the 15-minute mark, and that is just absolute testament to how well Dynasty played tonight. They really almost came in clutch, but SK with those late game team fights just starting to edge over Dynasty when it mattered most, and you saw it right there at the end. Dynasty couldn't find those last couple of, the early kills. Rikumeza got stunned up. We saw the core collapse paired with the Hell's Heart. Those double stuns were just locking up Rhyme. And Rhyme, very tanky, but if he's not doing damage, he becomes very squishy. And that was absolutely a well-played initiative and well fought by SK in those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And, more importantly, Tyra's landing the boomerang stun out of that from Hell's Heart locked him up for an incredibly long time. And then it was just a matter of time before SK found the rest of that fight. And, this is the Vainglory8 held by Vis, guys. We do cast the off-stream games for Saturday every weekend. So make sure you guys join us next week as well. We'll have a different matchup for you. And then make sure you guys head over to the Vainglory main channel so you guys can check out the games going on over there as well.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You're not going to miss it. But that's it for us tonight. We'll see you guys later today for North America as we bring those off-stream matches as well. So until then, good night, everybody.
only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.